whispered content, whether it's true or whether it is not true, which is tonight's theme. Please do give it a thumbs up, for it really helps. Helps the YouTube algorithm. Helps people find my channel. Thank you so much. So per request, I'm going to be doing some creepypastas, so that you all can just relax, and just use it to kind of zone out if you'd like to study. You do not have to think about it, it's not true. So, just relax. And we shall begin. But Tiffany was here for you. Mental state. You see, the only bad part about having a normal life is that you have no excitement. Well, that's what I thought when I met Shannon, Dane, and Mark. They told me not to feel bad because they have normal lives too. They invited me to go up into the Yukon Territory in Canada, and I instantly accepted, thinking, oh, this can be a great chance to have fun. When these three picked me up, they also brought their friend Misty. We went up and through Colorado into Canada. It was getting cold, but we really didn't care. It would be a fun experience for all of us. We met with some people that were willing to take us as far as the Northern Territories. We would hike to Yukon through there. It was a beautiful and breathtaking adventure. I never thought it would be so cold, though. But this guide, he took us to a cabin to stay for the night. In the morning, we would have to walk into the territory and put our camping stuff down. When we got there, it was about 11 p.m., so we had to hurry up. It's not safe to be in the Yukon Territory at night. People say creatures live there and they kill viciously. Well, I don't want to be torn into shreds, and definitely not left for dead before my fun begins with my newfound friends. So I decided not to tell my friends this, but about 2 years ago, a group of friends of mine went missing. They only found remains of a boy. That's it. No one knows where they went because they hiked at night. Nobody found them ever. Still, the hunt is on, but there's no clues. They were about to close the investigation when they found the remains of a man from the group 200 miles from where they were. Yeah, I don't want to tell my friends, as I feel like they will all leave really fast. Seeing as I knew the group prior, was too risky. We finally get to the cabin around 1 a.m. We're shaking, and thank God the cabin has a heater. We get inside and change into comfortable clothes and decide to stay in the living room near the fire, pulling out drinks and telling a little something each about ourselves, laughing, talking, chatting, when all of a sudden we hear a screeching sound, maybe a wolf, but I don't know, it's a little bit different, making us all jump. Misty peeps up and says, "What the hell was that?" Shanna replies with, "I don't know, but I don't think it sounds real friendly." I say it's probably an owl being eaten by a wolf. That explains the two different sounds. Shanna replies with, "Okay, great, I need to be." They go together. We all wait patiently till we hear it again. Then we hear two blood-curdling screams. screaming, we watch in horror. The beast is smashing her between trees, waiting for her to die. Suddenly he lets go of her and she goes flying. He jumps up, snaps his wings, and grabs an owl. This was our chance as we ran out into the woods. 2 hours have passed. From the time we last saw Shannon, we hear a slight, "Help. Help me." Immediately we stand up and shine our lights. Shannon is in front of us, her face all bloody, her hands are covering her stomach. When she screams no, then gets tackled as she is mauled to death by the thing, by this creature. Looking at us, it lunges at me, everything goes black. All I remember is waking up in a hospital bed, feeling pain in my head and my stomach. A doctor comes in and says, "Good, you're awake." I ask timidly, "Where are all my friends?" He speaks, not looking at me, but looking over his glasses onto the clipboard in front of him. "Ma'am, all we found was you and a lot of blood." I speak again. "No, my friends, they were attacked. Help them." He responds, simply states, "Look, you're in a severe mental state." With that, he leaves me. There's a scarecrow in my backyard. See, I recently moved to the city. I grew up living out in the country. The funny thing about Minnesota, at least to me, is that you could be in the middle of a city of 50,000 people or more, but all you'd have to do was drive for 20 minutes and you'd be in the middle of farm country. From a very early age, my mother took me out to the garden and showed me how to plant vegetables by hand. When I got older, my dad showed me how to take care of cattle and our crops. I always had a place in my heart for farming, even though I knew that I'd never grow up to be a farmer, of course. After college, when I was about to buy a small house for myself, I made sure the backyard had enough room to plant a modest garden. I have since moved to the city because there's no room to plant gardens here. I live on the 15th floor of the apartment building, and when I look outside, I see pavement and streetlights and people wandering to or from work and bars. This is the only way I can sleep now. You see, about 3 months ago, I'd been on the tail end of a 50-hour work week. My team had been working on a deadline, and the fact that we were finally able to sunset the project was enough to make us want to celebrate. After a few, way too many beers, a coworker dropped me off at my house and I stumbled straight to bed. It was a scream that woke me up. It was a horrific, blood-curdling scream. You know, when you're in that level of sleep where, I don't know, you aren't exactly sure what's going on. I don't know, like those times when your phone rings at 2 in the morning, but for some reason you cannot recognize the sound of your own phone. You keep trying to turn off your alarm. Yeah, that's what this was. I heard the scream in my sleep, and in some part of my head I knew it was a scream, but it was so out of place I could not process the information. I just sat up in bed, looking into the darkened hallway, wondering what had happened. I sat in silence approximately a minute or so before I laid back down. I couldn't wrap around this scream in my mind, and I said, "Oh well," I just chalked it up to exhaustion and being overwhelmed by the project at hand that I just finished. this time it wasn't a scream exactly. It wasn't really scared, it was angry, more of a shout. I lived in a quiet neighborhood. The idea of hearing someone out in the streets shouting didn't make any more sense than hearing a scream, especially in the middle of the night. I don't really consider myself a coward. I am pretty bold and brazen, especially when my surroundings are being invaded. However, it was hard for me to look out the window blinds. With a little courage and a few moments of guiding myself into it, and my eyes, of course, to adjust to the shadows outside in the dim moonlight, I looked. There was definitely something in my backyard. Honestly, I could see the silhouette of something moving out there near the fence at the edge of my garden. I sat there looking out, staring, dumbfounded at what in the hell it could be. I'm thinking that maybe, I don't know, it was just some stupid kids pulling a prank, like those idiots who were dressed up like clowns a while back. Then the hollering started again. This time I could see whatever this thing was, flailing around in the darkness. Clearly hear the sounds of limbs smacking against the wood of the fence. I don't think I'm a coward. I don't. Let me tell you, I didn't get out of my bed. I wasn't even sure if I wanted to call the police. I didn't want to make a sound. My heart was pounding so hard against my chest, it hurt. I don't recall there ever being a single time in my life when the idea of having to call the police has ever been an option. I just wanted whoever it was who was outside to go away. The yelling and thumping and scratching and cracking of limbs went on for another full minute and a half, maybe two, before going deadly silent. I drew up the bravery to look out my window again, part of me hoping to see that the person was gone, part of me petrified that it was. You know the scene in the horror movie where the killer has his face or mask pressed up against the window? Yeah, that one, that's what I was worried about. However, when I looked outside, he was still there, just standing out in the darkness, in the same damn place. It looked like he was just standing there, staring at me, through me. I can't pretend and tell you that I was not afraid. I mean, I know that by now it's pretty obvious that I was terrified the entire time. But now there's just this guy, some psycho, staring into my bedroom window, into my house, he's staring at me. Some of you might find this odd, but yeah, coming from the country, I don't own a gun. I grabbed a metal softball bat that I had for an after-work league and went to the back door. I was squeezing the bat so hard my fingers were starting to go numb. I were afraid I would drop the bat and be defenseless, to be honest. I could feel my own pulse as my forearms went tight with exertion. I tried to calm myself down. I took a breath, then another, one last breath, and then I opened the back door and saw the person, the man, still standing in the same spot, still staring at me from the darkness. seconds later, I heard the sirens coming down the street. I rushed to the front of my house to see the flashing lights dancing around my darkened neighborhood. Not wanting to do something dumb like run out at the cops, I went to the back door and again to see if the guy had run away. When I got there, I could see that he was still there. It definitely was a man. There was just enough light from the police cars driving up that I could see the wild-eyed glare of this man. His face looked all twisted and his eyes bulged out grotesquely. I could hear the police rushing around the side of the house and ordering the man down to the ground. He didn't move a muscle. They screamed at him, warning him that they were armed, but still he didn't move. I could just see the cops through the corner of the window. He had one of those taser guns in his hand. He gave the guy one more warning before firing. I saw the jolt in the man's arms and legs as it hit him. His head snapped back. But to my horror, he didn't fall down. He just stood there convulsing. No, not standing. He wasn't standing. When the cop and his partner shone their light on the man, I saw the most horrific thing I'd ever seen. I saw the Scarecrow in my backyard. I talked to the police afterward, and it wasn't until the next day that they pieced things together. I had taken off work to try and recover, not only from drinking, but from what I saw. The man had been a career criminal. Like I had worried about a meth head, he had just robbed a gas station a few blocks from the house and had been cutting through yards to get away. At least until he got to my house. Something you should know about my house. About, well, my little garden. The plot of dirt I'd use for a garden was not anything special. I didn't landscape it. Well, not really, and I didn't have a nice fence or anything to keep out the rabbits or any of the other animals. I used some basic plastic tomato fencing to encircle everything and to hold it in place. I used what is essential 4 pieces of rebar that the previous owner of my house had left in the garage. Really, my yard was a fence, then a small plot of dirt with 4-foot long pieces of rebar sticking out of the ground. God. The cops figured that when he got to my fence, he tried to hurdle it, but must have slipped from the scuff marks they found. And when he fell straight down onto one of the pieces of rebar. It skewered him through his ass. That yell I heard was him falling into it. The hollering and falling afterward must have been him coming out of the shock of the moment. It had been the back of his feet kicking while dangling in the air that I heard on my fence. By the time I got to my back door, his body weight had forced him to slide down the rebar as the metal slowly pierced through his body. The man was most likely dead when I first yelled at him. Maybe if I had done something sooner, he would still be alive instead of dying, impaled on my garden post. The pool of blood soaking into the dirt and grass at the base of the post. Criminal or not, I cannot stand to think of what happened to him. I live in the city now. There are no scarecrows. Quiet, peaceful, unsuspecting, sleeping perfect. I slowly climb a little more, my feet deft in my hands, gripping tightly onto the window ledge. It isn't particularly a pretty night. The rain is coming down in buckets, drenching me in her cold content, as if she thinks what I plan is disgraceful. She calls up a storm to put me off, possible way could go wrong, but still she growls, swiping through the air with her bright, blinding whip, trying to intimidate me, put me off of my wonderful idea. No, I need to stay focused. My piece needs to be finished on time. The window is up. I look back inside the room. The quiet little breathing from the lump in the bed makes her sweet sounds. The quiet little toneless noise that no music could mimic. Breathing. I start to paint my picture. I walk in, no creaks from the floor, no disturbances, nothing to ruin this perfect painting. With the exception of the rain, everything seemed to be in my favor. But the rain, that damn rain, the banshee that she is, wouldn't want me to finish it. She oozes pure hatred for my work. I can tell she just cares for herself, not of what is good or perfect. Not what I love, or what I want. And she would do worse. Stop. No time for this, no time for thinking about nonsense. The canvas needs a painting, and it shall be painted upon. I stepped a little further, ever so close to her now. A few more steps, and I could finally make her into a beauteous art piece. I was so close, it was so nearly finished. But she doesn't want this. She screams at the top of her lungs. Her voice rumbles the very foundations as she screeches in hatred, the lump now rising. Oh, it sees me, it knows I want its blood, but I can't stop. I pounce, my nails bury into her face, her eyes now red with blood as her siren-like screams pierce the air. I scream back at her. This isn't right. This isn't right. Why would you do this? Why couldn't you accept? Why couldn't you love? Why couldn't you let me create? Why couldn't you? I did what I had to because I love my work. I loved you once, but you stopped me. You stopped me. Your own son from his work. Your own son from his life. Still screaming. Her head is in my hands. In her eyes, she lashes, hoping that I'll let go, but I cling on, blood seeping down her face, now her mouth now being flooded with red, pure hatred. She slashes blindly at my face, clawing at anything she can. She gets a swipe across my left cheek. I'm screaming at her. I push my fingers into her eyes even harder. You couldn't leave me alone, could you? You had to ruin everything. Didn't you destroy everything I worked for? I thought you loved me. She coughs out another scream. Blood spatters onto me. Everything going wrong. It was supposed to be the greatest art piece. Not this, not this, not this. She stops breathing. The blood has gotten into her lungs at this point. She's dead. Just like that. Everything ruined. I breathe heavily, tired out from creating this travesty of a work of art. Her face is ruined. The rain has stopped. She's gone and left me with nothing but a scratch. I turn away and head towards the window. The painting ruined, the beauty lost, but not before looking at the mirror. Not much to look at, just a few glassy eyes and a few scars. No time for anything anymore. Must rest, must get away from this, must get away from Mother. He is there. You can see him just standing there. You can smell him, that putrid, rotting flesh. The darkness does little to conceal him and only makes the sight more frightening. You want nothing more than to crawl into your bed and forget the haunting sight. You wonder why he chose to stand there night after night. Nothing ever seems to change. Every night you hear him creep closer, closer, closer. You hear his footsteps first in the distance and then outside your door. The stench of long decaying flesh, wet You're there, and you know that he knows it. That's part of what's been driving you mad. He knows that you know as well, and it's content to let you wallow in your fear. You wonder what you did to deserve this terrifying presence. What is that you murdered your mother? Surely not. That bitch deserved to die. Was it at the time you refused to help that dying woman? No, she was old and bound to die anyway. Could have been that you turned your back on your daughter and did nothing while her attackers did as they pleased with her. Of course not, she's a little whore anyway. No matter, even if you did nothing to deserve his presence, he was there regardless. Always there. You got a few moments of relief in the daylight with the smell clung to your clothes and even to your very pores. You are never truly alone. Even within the pure white walls of your only sanctuary, he was there just outside the door. You can see him and you can smell him. The men in white coats tell you that it's all in your head, that the guilt of your crimes caused you to have a psychotic break. But you know they are lying. You're too smart to fall for that. You never regretted what you did. You know he was sent as a punishment for getting caught. That had to be it. You can see him outside the door now, just standing there like he does every single night. But wait. This time it's different. You can see the doorknob is turning and the smell of putrefying skin and bone overwhelms you. He is there next to you, watching you, killing you. I just want to start off by saying if you want an answer at the end, be prepared to be disappointed. There just isn't one. I was an intern at Nickelodeon Studios for a year in 2005 for my degree in animation. It wasn't paid, of course. Most internships are not, but it did have some perks beyond education. To adults, it may not seem like a big one, but most kids at the time would shit themselves over it. Now, since I worked directly with the editors and animators, I got to view the new episodes days before they aired. I'll get right to it without giving too many unnecessary details. They had very recently made the SpongeBob movie, and the entire staff was somewhat sapped of creativity. It took them longer to start up the season than usual. The delay lasted longer for more upsetting reasons, though. There was a problem with the Series 4 premiere that set everyone and everything back for several months. Myself and 2 other interns were in the editing room along with the lead animators and sound editors for the final cut. I received the copy that was supposed to be fear of a Krabby Patty and gathered around the screen to watch. Now, given that it isn't a final, animators often put up a mock title card, sort of an inside joke for us, with phony, oftentimes lewd titles such as How Sex Doesn't Work instead of Rockabye by Valve, when SpongeBob and Patrick adopt a sea scallop. Nothing particularly funny but work-related chuckles, so when we saw the title called Squidward's Suicide, we did not think it more than a morbid, sick joke. One of the interns did a small throat laugh at it. The happy-go-lucky music played as is normal. The story began with Squidward practicing his clarinet, hitting a few sour notes like normal. We hear SpongeBob laughing outside, and Squidward stops, yelling at him to keep it down as he has a concert that night and needs to practice. SpongeBob says okay and goes to see Sandy with Patrick. The bubble splash screen comes up and see the ending of Squidward's concert. This is when things begin to seem off. While playing, So yes, that's not common, but when he stops playing, the sound finishes as if the skip never happened. There is a slight murmuring in the crowd before they begin to boo him. Not normal cartoon booing that is common in the show, but you could very clearly hear malice in it. Squidward's in full frame and looks visibly afraid. The shot goes to the crowd with SpongeBob in center frame, and he too is booing, very much unlike him. This isn't the oddest thing, though. What is odd is everyone had hyper-realistic eyes, very detailed, clearly not shots of real people's eyes, but even though something a bit more real than CGI, the pupils were red. Some of us looked at each other, obviously confused, but since we were not the writers, we didn't question its appeal to children yet. The shot goes to Squidward sitting on the edge of his bed, looking very forlorn. The view out of his portal window is of a night sky, so it isn't very long after the concert. The unsettling part is at this point there is no sound. Literally no sound. Not even the feedback from the speakers in the room. It is as if the speakers were turned off. Though their status showed them working perfectly, he just sat there, blinking in this silence for 30 seconds. Then he started to sob softly. He put his hand tentacles over his eyes and cried quietly for a full minute more. All the while, a sound in the background very slowly growing from nothing to barely audible. It sounded like a slight breeze through a forest. The screen slowly begins to zoom in on his face, but by slow I mean it's only noticeable if you look at shots 10 seconds apart side by side. His sobs getting louder, more full of hurt and anger. The screen then twitches a bit as if it twists it on itself for a split second, then back to normal. The wind through the trees sound gets slowly louder and more severe, as if a storm is brewing somewhere. If this isn't eerie enough, the eerie part is that the sound and Squidward's sobbing are real, not a bit like a cartoon. As if the sound was not coming from the speakers, but if the speakers were holes, the sound was coming through the other side. As good a sound as the studio likes to have, they do not purchase the equipment to be that good to produce sound of that quality. Below the sound of the wind and sobbing, very faint, something sounded like laughing. It came in an odd interval and never lasted more than a second, so you had a hard time pinning it. We watched this show twice, so pardon me if things sound too specific, but I've had time to think about them. After 30 seconds of this, the screen blurred and twitched violently, and something flashed over the screen, as if a single frame was replaced. The lead animation editor paused and rewound frame by frame. What we saw was horrible. It was a still photo of a dead child. He couldn't have been more than 6. The face was mangled and bloodied, and one eye dangled over his upturned face popped. He was naked down to his underwear, his stomach crudely cut open, and his entrails laying beside him. He was laying on some pavement that was probably a road. The most upsetting part was that there was a shadow of the photographer. There was no crime tape, no evidence tape or markers. The angle was completely off for a shot designed to be evidence. It would have seemed that the photographer was the person responsible for the child's death. We were all, of course, mortified, but pressed on, hoping that it was just a sick joke. The screen flipped back to Squidward, still sobbing louder than before in half body and frame. There was now what appeared to be blood running down his face from his eyes. The blood was also done in a hyper-realistic style, looking as if you touched it, you'd get blood on your fingers. The wind sounded now as if it were that of a gale blowing through the forest. There were even snapping sounds of branches crackling, the laughing a deep baritone, lasting at longer intervals and coming more frequently. the scene started. He put his tentacles down and his eyes were now done in hyper-realism like the others were in the beginning of this episode. They were bleeding, bloodshot, and pulsating. He just stared at the screen as if watching the viewer. After about 10 seconds, he started sobbing, this time not covering his eyes. The sound was piercing and loud, and most fear of all is his sobbing was mixed with screams. Tears and blood were dripping down his face at a heavy rate. The wind sound came back, and so did the deep voice laughing. And this time, the still photo lasted for a good 5 frames. The animator was able to stop it on the 4th and backed up. This time the photo was of a boy, about the same age, but this time the scene was different. The entrails were just being pulled out from a stomach wound by a large hand. The right eye popped and dangled, blood trickled down it. The animator proceeded. It was hard to believe, but the next one was different, but we couldn't tell what. He went on to the next, the same thing. He went back to the first and played them quicker, and I lost it. I vomited on the floor, the animation and the sound editors gasping at the screen. The 5 frames were not as if they were 5 different photos. They were played out as if they were the frames from a video. We saw the hands slowly lift out the cuts. We saw the kid's eyes focus on it. We even saw 2 frames of the kid beginning to blink. The lead sound editor told us to stop. He had to call on the creator to see this. Mr. Ellenberg arrived within 15 minutes. He was confused as to why he was called down there, so the editor just continued the episode. Once the frames were shown, all screaming, all sound again stopped. Squidward was just staring at the viewer, full frame of the face, for about 3 seconds, said, "Do it." Now we see in Squidward's hands a shotgun. He immediately puts the gun in his mouth and pulls the trigger. Realistic blood and brain matter splatter the walls behind him and his bed, and he flies back with the force. The last 5 seconds of this episode show his body on the bed, on his side, one eye dangling on what's left of his head above the floor, staring blankly at it. The episode ends. Mr. Hillenberg is obviously angry at this. He demanded to know what the hell was going on. Most people left the room at this point, so it was just a handful of us to watch it again. Viewing the episode twice only served to imprint the entirety of it in my mind and caused me horrible nightmares. I'm sorry I stayed. The only theory we could think of was the file was edited by someone into the chain from the drawing studio to here. The CTO was called in to analyze it when it happened. The analyst of the file did show it was edited over by new material. However, the timestamp of it was mere 24 seconds before we began viewing it. All equipment involved was examined for foreign software and hardware as well as glitches, as if the timestamp may have glitched and shown the wrong time, but everybody checked out fine. Everything checked out fine. We don't know what happened, and to this day, nobody does. There was an investigation due to the nature of the photos, but nothing came of it. No child scene was identified, and no clues were gathered from the data involved, nor physical clues in the photos. I've never believed in unexplainable phenomenon, but now I have something happen and can't prove anything about it beyond anecdotal evidence. I think twice now about things. I think twice about everything. I huffed and puffed under my breath as I stared into God's mouth. I felt like the big bad wolf ready to interrupt the 3 innocent little pigs as they hurriedly fortified their makeshift homes. I grinned at this thought and then turned my head to look for Margaret. She was a couple of feet down the hill from the entrance of the cave, holding a walking stick close to her petite breasts. "Hurry up," I called to her. I turned back to the cave, still grinning. An old rotted sign outside read, "God's Mouth Cave, keep out." What a tired cliche. Margaret finally made it to the entrance and stood beside me, almost doubled over and out of breath. God smiled. Hey, check it out, I laughed. God's mouth. Wonder where Jesus' anus is. I chuckled to myself. Margaret was less amused. Give me the damn water bottle, she said, exasperated. The open bottle met her lips, and for a moment I felt peaceful in a way, watching her drink the water. Actually, I take that back. The peaceful comment. I mean, it was more of a feeling that was sort of hard to put my finger on or give a name, but I could settle for a nice content. Content seemed to be one of those words that manifests itself when natural human words seem to fail. Again, an utter cliche, but it felt good to feel a strange mix-up, sort of happy for once. I sighed and turned my flashlight on. I pointed it into the cave. Black, God's mouth. This seemed like the antithesis of a Holy Spirit. I turned again to Margaret. You ready? I asked. She was finally standing straight up and she nodded. I clapped a friendly hand to her back and we walked into God's mouth together. The inside was not unlike the preview I had glimpsed. Outside with my flashlight, dark, dismal, and endlessly black. It seemed to stretch endlessly no matter how I positioned my flashlight. The rocky terrain was damp and imposing. At last, a natural light slowly disappeared behind Margaret and I as we made our way deeper and deeper into God's mouth. I found it strange how soft and compelling the world around me now appeared. Stalactites or stalagmites and other various rock formations being so jagged, it just seemed that even amongst the pointed teeth of God I could lay down and rest there forever. It was comfortable. Apparently, Margaret did not agree. She shivered uncomfortably under my arm. I raised my eyebrows. Need your coat? I asked. I tried to look at her and make nonverbal communication as explicit as possible until I realized that we were just lost inky blackness of the mouth. I bit my lip and waited, but she did not respond. For a couple minutes we walked in silence. She stopped and stood motionless. I stopped too. Why the hell are we even in here? She said. She sounded irritated. I shrugged, more to appease myself than her, and shoved my flashlight under my face. Bladed shadows obscured half my face, the other half illuminated in a wretched mask. Spooky, I cried, chuckling. She didn't move. I sighed. I thought you wanted to go, I said. I noticed how my voice echoed against the cave walls at my volume. I began again, scratching at my chin. You did say you wanted to go see some nature for our vacation, and you did sound impressed when I told you about my visit to Mammoth Cave a couple years back. So my voice trailed off. I could still sense her irritation. No, she said. I frowned. No, you wanted to go here. I wanted to go to a beach or something. But no, a cave. Nathan. She sounded more like the big bad wolf now. I know that you have this weird fetish for splunking or something, but I don't really want to drag it into it. Don't get me wrong. I'd love to go on a trip and get into nature and fresh air, but this, I could hear her arms flail and gesture about in the thick cave air. This is cave air, not fresh air. This air is practically fermenting. Plus, isn't this illegal? Can we please just leave? We both stood there. The only sound that could be heard was the electricity in the air being stifled and smothered by the damp atmosphere. Finally, I began to walk. I didn't hear Margaret follow me, but I kept moving forward. Then, Nathan, she said, stop, please, stop. I stopped. I'm sorry, she said. I could hear her moving closer to me. I'm tired and I'm not used to running and climbing around and the like. I'm just tired. It's okay, I said. She grinned. She gripped my arm. Really, it's fine. I shook my head. Which way is out? I don't remember. I could feel Margaret physically pause. Neither of us could remember. Somehow in the confusion of our argument, I'd forgotten which way we had been moving. Idiot, I thought to myself. I should have brought a goddamn rope or something to trail from the entrance of the cave. I had to take action, so without much thought I turned 180 degrees and said, This shit, I shouted. Nathan, are you okay? Margaret asked. She seemed to be on the verge of panic. I'm fine, I said. Please, calm down. We will get out of here soon, I promise. I started again, pointing my flashlight upwards, now to the ceiling above me. It seemed to be getting narrower. That was strange. Listen, Margaret, babe, I said, though. My teeth were clenched. I think we gotta turn around. Margaret sighed next to me. Again, we walked for a decent length. I kept my flashlight pointed upwards this time. Sure enough, the space in the cave seemed to become smaller and smaller. If there was any resonating light left in God's mouth aside from my flashlight, I'm sure Margaret would have been able to see the whites of my eyes spreading in panic. We are completely lost. I let go of Margaret's hand and began to feverishly feel my way along the walls. No, Nathan, I heard her shout. I kept going. We had to get out. If we were lost, nobody would be able to find us. I kept feeling along the wall until I abruptly hit a corner. Punk, I said out loud. Margaret, this seems to be a dead end. I spun around on my heel. Margaret. No answer. Shit. I began to repeat my process again, almost running as I felt the wall run past my fingertips, cool, damp rocks and jagged spears. Suddenly I found myself at a corner again. Puck, 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 I shouted. Margaret. I was belting her name out now on the corner of the cave's maw where I had been thwarted so many times already. I heard a noise. It sounded like a muffled static from a television. I pressed my ear against the rock. It seemed to be getting even warmer now. I heard the faint sounds of Margaret on the other side of the rock. She was screaming. No, 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 I said. No, 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 no. I began running haphazardly into the walls around me. With dawning realization came a wave of sheer horror. There was no entrance. There was no exit. Only these four corners and me. I could feel blood begin to trickle down from the cut I managed to get by bashing my body into the cave's walls. They were closing in on me. They were coming in for the kill, and soon they would be pressing in on my skull and crushing my ribcage. I sat there for hours waiting for death. My flashlight was becoming dim and blinking. Finally, I felt the soft touch of these rocky walls pressed against my back. I began to cry as I lay down on the ground. I let my flashlight roll on the small hills of stone. As I quietly stayed prone, tears dripping down my face. I turned and looked at the flashlight. Its last fading beams of light pointed at something not far away from my face. I squinted in the darkness. My eyes widened and I felt tears fall even harder from my face. The rocks were piercing my skin now and blood dripped from all sides. There, in the last light of my flashlight, was the appetizer. The spotlight shone on a hand whose nails were painted ruby red. I screamed in agony as I watched God's mouth chew its latest meal. Margaret, no. Under a rotting sky. My name is garbage. Forever will my name be carved into my head. I haunt a world of filth, piss, and blood beneath a rotting sky. Every morning I rise from the putrid depths of the bay, my spectral carcass filled with foul seawater, lurching into the shadows, slowly making my way through the trash-strewn streets of the city, invisible to most and unclean phantom to others, finding my way to that urine-stinking back alley to wait. She made me this way, made my soul ethereal and ghastly, cursed to live this day out over and over for eternity. My existence a loop of time forever turning. It was she who carved this name across my brow with a sewing needle and black ink. She who shattered my heart and drove me to madness, suicide, despair. She who I seek now so that I may wrap my fingers around that lovely throat and watch her gorgeous face go blue. 1984 is when I met her. She was a 17-year-old runaway and the most beautiful punk each contained 6 letters. He was marked 666, the number of the beast, the Dark Lord. And it would bring the end of time. The Cold War was at a fever pitch, and we all expected nuclear Armageddon to come at any moment. They were teaching school children to duck under their desks if the Russians dropped a plutonium bomb on us, like hiding under a desk was going to fucking help. It was a nihilistic time, but it was fun and exhilarating nonetheless. We had the dead Kennedys, tape and fresh fruit for rotting vegetables, and we would play it over and over on the beat-up old boombox in our run-down squat, someone having to steal new batteries for it every week. That better tape and Jello, Pifera's side voice sneering as the music built up, pacing crescendoed, lock your doors, close your mind, it's time for the 2-minute warning, and then bursting with rage, welcome to 1984. Are you ready for the Third World War? Everyone would be screaming and hopping around, slamming into each other, ecstatic at the prospect of our own possible annihilation. You too will meet the secret police. They'll draft and jail your niece. One night after a black flag show, she appeared at our squat. Over on 4th and D was a dingy old abandoned hovel, a rotten Victorian. Some of the older punk anarchists had squats that they organized into communes with the communities and boards, always voting on this and that, having meetings. But we were young and wild teenagers. The ruckus crew we called ourselves, and our squat was just a place to get drunk and crash. A party squat. To us, anarchy wasn't a political movement. It was getting wasted, getting rowdy, causing a commotion. Being wild like the Circle Jerk song, running wild in the streets. We're running wild in the streets. There were 3 of us. At the core of the ruckus crew, there was Slug, a big boy, easily weighing in at 250 with a greasy green mohawk that never seemed to sit right on his head and always flopped back and forth. He got his name because he never seemed to move too fast. Even in the mosh pit he was slow, but big enough that everyone just bounced off of him. Wolf's Blood, a pale, skinny kid with a bad complexion, a Misfits fanatic. He wore his hair in a devil lock, a long black spike that hung down over his face and turned up at his chin. And wore nothing but black clothing, adorned with the images of a skull. And then there was me, garbage, just a normal spiky-haired punk in tattered blue jeans, a red flannel shirt tied around my waist, and scuffed combat boots on my feet, looking for a few laughs and a good time. It was our squad. We had found it, that boarded up old Victorian, and it was me who had spray painted the circle N on the floor, on the door, and around the house, announcing to our punk community that it was an open and running squat. We were best friends, the 3 musketeers. I would yell ruckus, my fist clenched in the air. Slug would holler rage, holding up a beer, and Wolf's Blood would scream roar, both arms held aloft over his head. That was our thing, and we did it hundreds of times a day. Everyone had come over to our squad after that Black Flag show, a legendary show, with Henry Rollins getting his shorts torn off and continuing on undaunted and naked, howling into the mic, "We are tired of your abuse. Try to stop us. It's no use." The entire front room of that condemned Victorian was filled with punks, but somehow from across the room I saw her sitting there, with a book on her lap and another beside her. And I was known as being the bookworm of the crew. I just loved curling up with a good bit of prose. It was a high to me, a way to escape. Kafka or Dostoevsky, something dark and foreign, so seeing her there with those books definitely spurred on my interest. She was in the corner reading a Bret Easton Ellis novel, Less Than Zero, and I saw that the other book beside her was a sketch pad. She was going from the book to the drawing pad, sketching a naked girl tied to a dirty mattress. She was wearing a bulky leather jacket, metal spikes on the collar and shoulders, with her skinny neck, pale wrists, and torn fishnet stockings clad legs poking out with 14-eye, steel-toed, oxblood Dr. Martens on her feet. "Yo, hey, what's your name?" I asked. She smiled up at me with those thick black lips, a twinkle to her dark eyes. "Raven. I once memorized that poem by Edgar Allan Poe for an English class back in high school." I said, "Cool as can be. Get 3 back into the tempest and the night's Plutonian shore." Her grin grew bigger and she replied, "Take thy beak from out my heart and take thy from off my door." "Nice," I said. "You like that poem, huh? Is that why they call you Raven?" "No, they call me Raven because I like to pick at dead things." "Huh? Well, I'm garbage." She laughed. "Well, that's pretty obvious." "Oh, yeah? And what's your story?" She cocked her head flirtatiously and, never losing that grin, said, "When my mommy died, my daddy started bucking me. I guess he needed someone to put his dick in, so I ran away. What's yours?" Wow, I was shocked at what she said. Stunned, speechless. I was used to some pretty fucked up shit. I mean, look how we lived, but eating out of garbage cans and sleeping in condemned houses, but something about her glittery eyes and cocksure grin just shook me when those words left her mouth. And Slug came stumbling over with a beer in his mitt, wrapping a beefy arm around my shoulders and giving me a squeeze. "Dude," Vomit pierced his dick with the safety pin. "He's over there showing it to everyone. Gotta see this shit, come on." And he yanked me away from the strange girl. As he pulled me along, I glanced back over my shoulder and saw that she was still smiling and staring at us. When she saw me, she gave a little childlike wave with her hand. "Bye-bye." I saw her around after that. She gained a reputation as being a pretty good tattoo artist, working with only a thread-wrapped sewing needle and some Dia ink. She gave everyone anarchy signs, the circle N symbol of a squat, the 8-point symbol of chaos, the black flag bars. Once I strolled up to her while she was tattooing "fuck off" across a rowdy girl named Discharge's knuckles, the blood and ink flowing over her fingers and staining Raven's hands black. I asked her if I could look in her book of drawings. "Well, it's kind of personal." She gave me a glance and a grin, "but sure, go ahead. The pictures are dark and bizarre. A whole expose on the Charlie Manson family, all the girls before and after they had shaved their heads with carved X's into their brows. Sharon Tate, 8 months pregnant and in a pool of blood with a noose around her neck. Jim Jones smiling and looking like a rock star. Weird shit. Pol Pot, Hitler, El Deuce, you name it." I asked her, "Why do you draw all this fucked up shit? Are these bad evil, of all these bad evil people?" She looked at me curiously. "Really?" she asked. "A guy named Garbage is going to ask me why I'm obsessed with darkness." "Because it is there. That's why. Because there is no denying it. Because looking away is being a coward and lying to yourself. It's a fucked up world, and to not acknowledge it would be to give it more power. I thought you understood that." I nodded my head, marveling over her. I did. I understood. I just wanted to hear you say it. And that was the truth, because I had understood that. I just needed her to say it before I ever knew I did. The next time I ran into her, I just randomly saw her by the wharf, staring down at a little songbird, a sparrow that she held cupped in her hands. Seagulls screeched as they circled overhead, and the sun was sinking into the bay. With that amber light falling on her pale skin, she looked even more beautiful than I remembered her. "Hey, what you got there?" I asked, striding up beside her. "A little sparrow. Its wing is hurt." She held out her hand so that I could inspect the tiny bird. It looked up at me with its black eyes, and I felt something turn in my gut. We could nurse this creature back to health. I thought it would be our thing, bring it back to the squad and mice and rats and chipmunks that wandered to sample the trash. Once Wolf's blood even came back with a baby possum that ended up biting him and taking a big old hunk out of his hand before he threw it back into the alley. As I went to speak, she looked up at me with these heartbreakingly sad eyes, and again I said, struck silent, dazed and lost in the melancholy of her gaze. She opened her hands, letting the little bird topple to the ground, where it struggled, beating its one wing for a moment, before she lifted her foot and brought her boot down squarely upon it. It made a crunch sound as she twisted her heel, grinding into the sidewalk. She laughed and looked up at me with her soul-crushingly beautiful face, eyes now a-glitter. "Do you want to get drunk and go trolling?" she asked. "Yes," I gasped, and I knew right then that I would do anything to be with this girl, anything. "Got any money for booze?" "No, do you?" "Nah, let's make some." So we started panhandling. It was a blast. I held my standard "please give me" to the Get a Punk Drunk Foundation. She had jokes, spare some change for a joke, spare some change for a joke. Here about the weather in Mexico, chilly today, hot tamale. But we weren't really getting anywhere. After about half an hour, we had $5 between the two of us. Then she spied this old lady crossing the street. "Stay here," she said, and her entire demeanor changed. She became someone else. Her eyes lost that mischievous sparkle. Lips went from devilish grin to a pout. That haughty tilt of her head became a sullen and downcast look of sadness, and she shuffled up to that white-haired woman and began to mumble something I could not hear. The woman went into her purse and slipped her folded bills. I could see Raven mouthing the words, "Thank you." Then she was back to her old self, skipping back to me, little girl style, laughing uproariously. "That old bitch just gave me $100. What did you say to her?" "It doesn't matter. Come on, let's get some wine." We got a gallon of Carlo Rossi Burgundy and headed off trolling, cruising around under bridges and getting drunk. Tucked up under the Samoa Bridge on a concrete slab, surrounded by graffiti and broken glass, we began to kiss. The taste of the cheap wine was as sweet as candy on her lips. She seemed eager to fuck, unbuttoning my pants, pulling off her panties, and drawing me into her. But as I began to move my body over her, I noticed she was weeping, crying quietly, eyes clenched shut. What is it? Do you want me to stop?" "No," she said. "It feels good. I like it. Please, don't stop, don't stop." So I rocked against her. I could feel her begin to writhe and move beneath me, meeting my strokes with her own rhythm, gaining momentum as she moaned and shuddered, and I knew she had come. Then I let myself go, and we lay there, clutching each other in the darkness, the traffic overhead making the bridge tremble slightly and hum. We drank more wine, cuddled up. She told me about her father, the way he would come into her room at night after her mother had died and have his way with her. She cried. I told her it was all right. She was gone from him now. She would never have to go back. We fell asleep, clutching each other, and woke in the dim pre-dawn light, freezing and shivering. We fled back to the squad, holding hands and giggling, still drunk. We were inseparable from that moment on. She stopped crying during sex and wanted to have sex everywhere. In alleys and gutters, the dark corner of the club, while true sounds of liberty played. Darker, my love. We were giddy and got high, just started staring into each other's eyes. The first tattoo she gave me was a black heart. "Take off your shirt," she said. Her dark eyes twinkled as she got out her little tattoo kit. "I want to give you something." I slipped my shirt over my head and lay back as she straddled me and began to press back black ink into my skin, with her sewing needle etching a large ebony heart in the center of my chest. The next tattoo she gave me was garbage across my forehead. We were lying on an old mattress in an upstairs room of the squad, where we had made ourselves a little room of our own, drunk as usual. I said I wanted a new tattoo. "Give me a new tattoo." "What do you want?" she purred, licking her lips and pressing insane butthole surfer show. That was the night everything changed. The Grateful Dead were in town, so there were these dreadlock hippies everywhere, and tons of them showed up at the show. They were just giving away dabs of acid. Raven and I ate a bunch of the little paper squares, the image of Snoopy embossed upon them. It was the strangest night of my life. The club was packed and very dark. There were screens set up with unsettling and weird images flickering on them. Sex change operations, car accidents, victims, flocks of birds, and school of fish. A large section of the audience were bowing down in worship to the stage when dude drummers were banging out a primitive tribal beat. The guitarist was fiddling around, making squawking sounds and feedback. Mist poured out of the smoke machine, and the entire stage was engulfed in fog, the center of which was an obese naked woman, painted green, writhing and squirming to the beat. Then Gibby came on, tall, shirtless, mumbling incoherent into a microphone. As I listened and started to make out the words, I realized he was ripping on that Doors song, The End. And I walked on, down the hall. I came to a room where my mother was, and I noticed she had shaved her pussy just for the occasion. I walked on down the hall, and I paid a visit to my father, who looked down at me with his green eyes and said, "Son, Satan, Satan, Satan." Suddenly the room erupted into violence and chaos as the rip of the Black Sabbath Sweet Leap came blaring out of the speakers. The lights were flashing, bodies were hurling through the air, and the screens were filled with images of mushroom clouds exploding over and over. Then I noticed Gibby had his shotgun, and he was firing blanks into the crowd. It was utterly insanity. Utterly insane. The acid had fully kicked in, and everything was shimmering and melting. I didn't know if it was heaven or hell, but it was awesome, amazing. Raven and I just stood there in the back of the club, holding hands, entranced by the spectacle. The rest of the show was just pure anarchy. Gibby was setting things on fire and throwing them out into the swirling mosh pit. People were dangling from the ceiling beams and hurling themselves off the speakers. That fat naked lady gyrating in the mist the entire time, like the calm in the eye of the storm. Afterwards, we all went back to the squat to party. Raven was high as hell and acting really weird. She kept biting my neck and sticking her hand down my pants, grabbing at my dick. "Come on," she kept whispering. "Don't you want to fuck me? Come on." I did, of course I did, but also wanted to be with my friends. We were all amped from the show. Nearly all of us had eaten acid and still pretty high. That wiry, high energy, high after an LSD peak. "Come on, just a quick one. Come on, baby." Alright, I finally relented, letting her drive me away by the end. "Go garbage. Where you go, man?" Slug called out. "I'll be right back," I shouted over my shoulder. "Yeah, sure you will," Wolf's Blood chimed in. We got to our dingy little room. She immediately threw me down on the mattress and stripped off her clothes. She was on me and unbuckling my pants before I had time to even pull off my tattered t-shirt. Then things got weird, really weird. She was straddling me, moaning, and she said, "Come on, Daddy. Fuck your little girl. Fuck me good." "Jesus, Raven," I muttered, "what are you saying?" And she slapped me hard right across the face and flipped me over so that I was on top of her, still moaning and muttering about her daddy. "Hurt me, bite me, make me bleed." "Raven, what's going on?" I asked, and she grabbed me by the hair and pulled my head back, dug her nails into my side. "Do it, bitch," she growled. "Bite me and make me bleed." And so I did. We went all night. Till at dawn, she just passed out, exhausted, sore, bruised, and bleeding. When I woke sometime afternoon, spun from the acid and groggy, she was gone. Her back was gone, too, as well as her sketchbook. I went downstairs where the guys were drinking beer and listening to the Dead Kennedys tape, California Uber Allies. California Uber Allies. "Hey, you seen Ulysses, waiting and hoping she would come back. Those days wore in peace. As the days turned to weeks, I started to drink heavier and heavier, stealing handles of Lord Calvert and drinking it down straight from the bottle, getting so wasted every day that I couldn't even read anymore, the words just becoming a jumbled blur. Ruckus, I'd yell to my friends, falling down, ready to puke, struggling for balance. Rage, roar. They'd shout back, but it wasn't the same. It felt lackluster. It wasn't the same, and I knew they could tell. You gotta forget about that chick, bro, Sluck told me one night. She was a fucking nutcase anyway. I know, man, I know, I muttered, but I knew. You could never know how much I loved her. Never understand how much I missed her, how I ached and sometimes snuck away to drunkenly weep and puke. My heart a shattered mess. Then one day I saw her. I was out by Cutton, looking for new territory to panhandle in, desperate for a bottle, and I saw her leaving the Catholic school there. At first I thought it was an illusion, that it was someone else, that I was seeing things, for she was all done up in a Catholic school uniform with the plaid skirt, white button-up shirt, and a blue blazer. But as I got closer, I saw it was definitely her, that gorgeous face, those twinkling eyes. She was walking with another girl, backpack slung over their shoulder. Raven, I asked, stunned as I approached her. Oh God, garbage. You know this guy, Karen? Her friend asked. Karen, I had never even known her real name. Just give me a minute, Jenny, I'll be right there. She said to her friend and gave me a snide up and down look as she sauntered away. Then Raven turned to me. Garbage, how are you? Awful, I'm fucking awful, I miss you. What happened? Where did you go? I just had to get away from that life. I snapped that night. When I woke up, I realized that I just couldn't take it anymore. Begging, eating out of garbage cans, that disgusting house. I needed to get my life together. I'm going to graduate this year, and then I'm going to art school in Portland. I've already been accepted. What about me? I love you. Yeah, and I love you too, garbage. I do, and always will. Our time together will always be special to me. I just had to give that life up. I'm back living with my dad, and things are going good now. Things are going good now. You told me he raped you. Keep it down. Don't make a scene. Maybe it wasn't all him. Maybe I was to blame as well. We worked it all out. Worked it out? I can't believe what you are saying to me. You said he raped you when you were 16 years old. How can you be blamed? This is fucked. Look, garbage, you've got to calm down. You just don't understand. Understand? No, I don't understand. You told me you loved me, that we would be together forever. I do love you, but I never said we would be together forever. Right now, I just can't be with someone who has garbage tattooed across their forehead. I can't. But you did this to me. Nevertheless, what would my father say? He's paying for me to go to art school, and he's laying down some very strict rules. Your father, the pervert, the rapist. Alright, that's it. I've got to go. Look, it was good time, but we both just have to move on, so please just leave me alone. Come on, Jenny, she shouted to her friend. Let's get going. And they left me standing there lost and alone. I could hear her friend say to her as they strolled away, I can't believe you know this guy. He smelled in the way he's dressed, gross, and was that garbage written on his forehead. After that, I began to stalk her. I found out where she lived and spent days by the trash cans in the alleyways across from her house, drinking and watching. Winter was coming and the sky was growing dark with black clouds. Clouds that looked like mold, like rot. I saw her father come and go, a smug-looking guy with salt and pepper hair, always dressed in a blue suit. He would get into his Beamer every morning and be back at 6 every evening. It was his fault, that sick fuck. This was all his fault. Decided I was going to kill him. There and was nothing of his head left but a bloody stump in his tongue, trolling out to the side. At first I thought the screaming was in my head, this loud, piercing cry, but when I turned I saw it was her, Raven. She was standing there at the bottom of the stairs, screaming. She saw me turn toward her. She ran up the staircase. I followed behind, reaching up to grasp an ankle. She fell with a thud. I climbed up to her. She was still screaming hysterically. I wanted to tell her I had saved her, she was free now. I loved her and wanted to be with her forever, but she just wouldn't stop screaming, howling, trying to push me away from her. Somehow I found my hand stained black with her father's blood wrapped around her neck, squeezing until her face went blue and her eyes went still. I lay there on top of her on the staircase for a good while, her father's blood beginning to coagulate and stink. Then I fled, ran through those filthy streets beneath that rotting sky covered in stench of death. I had become a monster. I had killed the thing I loved the most, the one thing of beauty and truth I had found in this sick, sad world. I ran to some old bridge. I crawled up onto that graffiti-covered slab of concrete where we had first made love and wept, and then after the sun had set, sinking to the bay and blackness obscured the rotting sky, I climbed to the truss of the bridge. Up and up I went to the darkness of night, and when I had reached the top, the pinnacle, and could go no further, I threw myself off into the darkness below. In the morning I awoke beneath the waves and water, dead, ethereal. I crawled out, clawed my way to the shore where I lurched into the shadows to find that alley again, to wait there again, to go and kill again. Kill her father, then kill the thing I love the most, over and over for eternity. This is my fate. To wrap my blood-soaked fingers around her throat and watch her face go blue before throwing myself into darkness again and again and again. My name is garbage. Forever will my name be carved into my forehead. I will haunt a world of filth, piss, and blood beneath the rotting sky. The very last step. Now one might ask why you would partake in this ritual. This one simply meets with the devil, and as any level-headed person knows, that's very risky. But while he's merciless and cruel, he'll give you the power of wishing if you can successfully outdo him in a little activity he has planned just for you. First, you'll want to contact him. Wear a ring. Make sure it touches your skin, a protective relic, usually religious. It can also be extremely personal item, but most would simply wear a cross around their neck. Try to bring an item of the Christianity and Abraham religions, as the devil usually associates with them. You don't have to convert, and just bring them along. Around midnight, or more, preferably 12:06 a.m. It doesn't have to be the exact time. Walk down any flight of stairs in your house or apartment. They have to be at least 6 steps. So if you live in a one-story house, I guess you have to try another ritual. Must be pitch black, so dark that you can't even see your own hand in front of you. I recommend you wearing comfortable clothes, as tripping on a nightgown will abort the ritual and also make you have quite painful broken neck. You will soon notice that you never step onto the ground, and indeed it seems as though the set of stairs is far longer than it usually was. If you had not reached the last step yet, turn back now if you want to. Walking down the stairs for an impossibly long time, you'll reach the last step. Here there is a bit of light, a reddish tinge, and you can see an enormous gaping hole with the distant echoes of tortured screams. Do not try to focus on them, as you may accidentally fall into the hole, joining these poor souls. For this is the staircase of the descent to hell. Those lousy cliches. Instead, stand up on the very last step and turn around. The steps behind you will have nursery class baby. Don't open your eyes for those rebellious people. If you like to be stuck in hell, be my guest. Do not release your hold on the relic. You're now being transported to hell in the not-so-painful way. Your nose might catch a slight whiff of something burning or the air growing warmer or colder around you. At some point, it may be seconds or minutes, or 1 hour, 6 minutes, or 6 seconds. If you know what I mean, you'll hear a loud whoop. This signals that you have been successfully transported and you may now open your eyes. You'll be standing in some sort of circular chamber, painted a pale color of gray, with no doors or windows. You're probably in shock, as a gray room sure as hell doesn't look like hell. There will be 2 chairs facing opposite each other. Don't try to move them, leave them the way they are. One chair will be the color of charcoal and the other will be the color of pale red. Do not sit in the black chair, as that's the devil's throne. Sit in the pale red chair. It won't be really comfortable, but don't complain. Nothing you can do about it anyway. Relax for a moment. Just relax. But then you'll hear a thunderous sound indicating that the devil has arrived, appearing out of nowhere. You'll take on the form of the person you hate or despise the most, but his eyes will completely be white, with only a small pupil, no irises. You might be unnerved for a moment, but don't attempt to escape out of the chair, as you don't have anywhere to escape to. The relic will be burning you now in intense pain, but do not take it off. It's the only thing that isn't allowing your body to be the toy of the devil. You can't harm a single hair in your head if you have that relic. If he comes in and you're sitting in the correct chair, he will proceed to sit in the throne before you. His eyes will now be hungrily probing your face, gazing into your eyes. He's surveying your mind to make the upcoming easier for you. Try not to think of anything. He can't get into your mind that easily if you do not allow him to. Just do that. Think of nothing. After a minute of silence, he'll speak first. Would you like to play an easy game I set for you? You will automatically say yes, even if you don't wish to. Satisfied, I'll lean forward and give you a brief rundown of the rules. This easy game the devil has so sincere made for you is just a way for you to, for him to fuck with your mind. He'll ask you the best time you ever had in your life. Reply truthfully. There might be several moments, but pick one you remember with dignity. There is no point in lying. You will start asking questions about that precious thing in your life. The questions will start off simple, like, who is with you, or what award did you win? You will naturally respond with the correct answers. He'll consider your responses for a moment before telling you snippets of information. The award you won was a scam. No one on that occasion wanted to be with you. His voice will take on a tone of honest and caring person, like a therapist. He'll be feeding you the negatives now. How much money was wasted on the trip? How deep inside no one was proud of you winning a shitty award. Some of these are lies and some are truths. Think about the event. Think about it. The very being of your soul. Think about it to the very beginning. Think every single detail of the trip. The people that went with you. The people that applauded you. The competition you participated. Don't be influenced by his words. When he is done supplying you with these statements, he'll whisper to you what truly happened at the event. If you hadn't been mind-twisted by his pessimistic info, you probably would repeat what you initially said. If not, however, the devil knows you're weak-minded. Regardless, the devil will play another game with you. In total, I'll play 6. You must win at least 3 of them to receive the wish-granting ability. Mind that all of the games use the power of the mind and your will to fight. The devil now clasps both of his hands in yours. His hands will feel clammy and you will instinctively pull away, disgusted. The gray room will immediately disappear and you will soon be in another room with your greatest peer in life. It's like Divergent all over again, except this time there's no hot instructor helping you out. The room will be different for everyone, as every person has their own peers. Maybe a person, deep water, heights, spiders, etc. What you must do now is to get on your knees and remind yourself that this is not real. This is simply a little piece that devil inserted your mind with. You'll be shoved into beer, pushed off an impossibly high building, spiders swarming all over you. Whatever it is, you will feel intense panic. Panic, but calm down, hold on to your relic, and don't give into the beer. Giving in means losing. Stay calm, close your eyes, cover your ears if you have to. Or you're plummeting to your death or swatting up wasp, remembering this isn't real. Yell it out if you have to. After several agonizing moments, things will calm and you'll be back at the grey room again. And doubtfully, you will be distrusting the devil now. He's put you through so much stress and you want to leave, but you can't. You must play 6 games and he's just starting the 3rd one. He'll pretend to beg for your forgiveness. His voice will take a pleading tone. Say you forgive him, as that is the only way to progress. With a smile of satisfaction, he'll take your hands again. This time his hands will be warm and clean. Quite comfortable, actually. Enjoy the touch of his hands and close your eyes. When you open them, you'll be standing in a circle surrounded by tall stone walls. You are in fact in the center of a circular maze, and your task, get out. The maze isn't too big, and there's enough light to navigate around. But it isn't that easy escaping. This maze isn't some crudely hand-drawn crap. It's your mind. The devil has especially designed a maze of your mind just for you. You'll be confronted with happy moments which will lure you into a trance and make it difficult to escape the maze, or will reveal your darkest, deepest, guiltiest secrets that crush you, want you to make out with the hidden murders, etc., etc. Unlike the first game, every single one of these are true. Whatever you see in the maze is what your mind has. You may not even know it yourself. If those secrets are overwhelming you, you can shout out, I can't get out. However, that will count as a failure. To successfully work out the maze, concentrate, think slowly, slowly, slowly. You have all the time in the world. The guilty images hold clues to what directions to go. The maze itself is pretty straightforward. If it was on a normal sheet of paper, it'd probably take about half a minute to get through. It doesn't have to. Much overlapping paths or rewinding curves, so it will be simple to solve if you keep your mind clear and calm. Once you've found the exit, you will, as always, be teleported back to the grey room. You're still probably woozy from this disturbing little bits you never knew but you possessed. The devil sitting placidly in his chair doesn't ever do anything. God damn him. Will offer you a drink. It will be your most favorite drink in the world. Soda, lemonade, water, smoothie, I don't know. Take the drink from him. You're probably waiting to belt endless rows of questions at him, but don't. Just accept the drink and gulp it down to the last drop. Give the cup back to him. The moment is not. It's not touching your fingers. You'll black out at the 4th. The game needs a player. You'll be in an arena. Your 4th game will start. Your clothes are of a simple style, comfy and tight enough, and you have a gun and a sword in a sheath. The gun is a revolver that will never run out of bullets, although for every 5 rounds it takes 4 seconds to reload. The sword is a 3-foot-long blade with a leather handle, and you can hold it easily. Even if you never took any sword fighting lessons, the arena will be a circular area. No trees, just rocks randomly scattered. The sky will be a blood red with a glowing sun concealed by the colors. And who will you be fighting? You. The opponent is a mirror image of yourself, dressed in the same clothes and equipped with the same weapons. Just as you know what he'll do, he'll know what you'll do. Whatever you do, he does. The battle can be a long one, a bloody one. It ends when one of you cannot fight any longer, which counts as a loss. To win, you must defeat yourself. For people who have been trained with guns, many quickly end this standoff by simply shooting their doppelganger in the head. But for those of you that are not untrained, this will be an extremely painful match. There is only one way you can win. You must outsmart yourself, but do things you've never done before or will ever do. Act things you even surprise yourself in. By surprising yourself, you surprise your opponent, which gives you an opportunity for the kill. Examples include stabbing yourself, stripping down to the undergarments, running around in endless circles, chanting in random prayers, whatever you normally don't do. The challenging part of the fight is that likely be soaked in blood and probably trembling in what you had just done. The landscape will blur around you, and voila, you're back in the grey room. If you had won at least one game so far, you still have a slim chance of winning the next two. If not, you will still have to play the fifth and sixth, but you might as well give up on them. The devil's pupils will now have been enlarged. You can even see your reflection if you lean in close enough. His voice will no longer be so coaxing and soothing, it will take on a harsher manner. As the end of the games are coming, and he might not get a chance for you to take off the relic again. What you must do now is reach across and grasp the devil by his arm. He'll be expecting that moment. Nodding his head twice, your vision will become hazy and unfocused, and boom, you're in the fifth round. Some say that the fifth round is one of the easiest. Here you will close with mirrors. As a guess, those aren't regular mirrors. Depending on how many people you know, each mirror shows you what the person thinks of you. If you're Justin Bieber, many girl fans display you as some sort of sex model, and many will show you as some sort of spoiled blondie, no offense to blondes and JB fans alike, who sings all day, every day, being carted off to jail. If you're a kind person who just doesn't like talking to people, the mirrors that surround you will simply show what your family members think of you. And most are just of a normal boy. For them, socially awkward to participate in this ritual. That is why they thought this game was easy. However, if you're obnoxious, popular brat, strutting around in high school, the truth of other people's opinions might destroy you. Your best friend actually despising you, the crush you had on that person not even giving you a damn about you. Your date hoping that you will die someday so you can go out with another girl. The teacher that thinks you're annoying dumbass just goofing in class and has the future of being a trashy hobo when she grows up. These are just opinions, but many that play this game suffer depression, eventually suicidal thoughts. They also lose their minds, start starting a killing spree. You'll wish here that you didn't have so many friends. Win the round by fighting it with your mind. Persuade yourself that you don't care, that they can think all they want about you and you won't even acknowledge them. When your mind has become focused again, you'll be in the grey room for the very last round. This time, do not let the devil touch you. You must enter by yourself into the last stage. Curl up into a ball on your chair and hold onto your relic. Tune your surroundings out, thinking of nothing. Allow your mind to rest into a blissful state. Soon something sharp will poke into you and you will wake up in an utterly dark room. As the staircase you first walked down with in your hand will be a revolver, the same one as the game board. Take a deep breath. As soon as you're ready, you will see a red light. It will be a pinprick, gradually becoming larger and larger when it is large enough to blind you with this ruthless glare. Quickly shut your eyes. Count to 5 and open them. In front of you in a dimly lit room will be a person, a random generic person you may or may not have seen in your life. Their faces will be dripping blood and their skin have been torn away, chips of bone visible. Organs may dangle out of cuts on their bodies. They will moan and slowly drag themselves toward you, muttering how you are the one with the knife that tore them apart and caused them the eternal pain. Do not try to ignore them. Listen to every word they say. When they groan out the phrase, I'll make you feel pain, you'll never know your pain you've never known before. If you shoot them early or later, you lose. Shoot them exactly 3 times square in the middle of the forehead. Miss one mark. It doesn't have to be the same spot, but it has to be in the middle of the forehead, and you lose. The moment you have finished firing 3 bullets, swiftly toss the gun away and lunge at the crumbling corpse. Yell at them, I have given you your piece, as loudly as you can. Turn away now wish has a drawback. Unless you are extremely specific, you wished to have a ton of candy. They will probably all fall on you. If you wish to have your dead father back with you again, he'll come back in the form of a rotting corpse. Be specific with your wishes. The next morning, you will also receive a copy of an unknown newspaper. Even if you do not order such things, the front page will have a picture of the person you killed in the 6th game, along with details of the mutilation, and the 3 bullets lodged into its head. Even though it isn't really your fault, you will still feel immense amounts of guilt, as a person was sacrificed simply for your ritual. The regret and pain you will suffer through can drive you to madness. But what happens if you accept the devil's handshake? The games are over. There are no more reasons to be in contact with him. By taking his handshake, you have put yourself in his power. And the first thing he'll tell you to do is remove your holy relic. And if you do that, joining the many tortured souls of hell, you'll think from the beginning, and you'll wish you had never stood onto that very last step. I'm a 911 operator, and I just had the most terrifying call. 911, what's emergency? Yeah, hi, this is going to sound kind of strange, but there's a man stumbling across my front yard, running around in circles. Could you repeat that, sir? Look, he looks sick or lost or drunk or something. I just woke up to get a glass of water and heard a snow crunching sound around the underneath the part of my window. So I peeked out. I'm staring at him right now. He's about 10 yards away from my window. Something, I'm telling you, is not right with him. Okay, sir, calm down, calm down. What is your address? 1617 Quarry Lane in Pinellas Pass. Okay, calm down. I'm gonna send a squad car your way. But that's quite a ways out, do you understand? It's gonna take us a while to get to you. Are you alone in your house, sir? Yes, I'm alone. Okay, take a deep breath. Try to relax as best you can. Can you confirm that all your doors and windows are locked? Please stay on the phone with me. I know that my front door is definitely locked, but I'm gonna go check my back door again really quick. I appreciate your help, by the way. I know this is kind of strange, but I really hope that... Sir, are you there? He's still in my yard. Everybody's... What the fuck? He's upside down. Sir, stay on the phone with me. What is happening? He's staring right at me. But he's standing on his hands. Perfectly still, staring straight at me. No shit, he's doing a handstand and he's smiling at me. And not moving a muscle. I don't know, he's facing me and standing on his hands, and he's got this huge smile on his goddamn face. He's perfectly still. What the fuck? Please get someone out here now. Sir, I need you to remain calm. Please, it's not gonna help if you're upset. I put out the call and an officer is on his way, I promise you. His teeth are huge. What the fuck? Please help me, please. Sir, I want you to try and keep an eye on him, but make sure your back door is locked one more time. We need to make sure all possible access points are secured. Can you talk me through and confirm that your back door is locked? Okay, I'm walking backwards now and keeping him right in my line of sight. My hand is on the back door knob now. It's locked. I need Sir, are you still there? His face, it's up against the glass. It's up against the glass. Sir, I need you to speak up. I can't hear you. What's happening? I looked away for a split second. That's all I did. And now his face, it's pressed up against my front window. His teeth are huge and he's still fucking smiling. There's no color in his eyes. Jesus, please help me. Why won't it move? Sir, I need you to go to the nearest room and lock yourself inside of it. Do you have a basement or a bedroom that you can lock yourself inside? He won't stop staring at me. He's going to hurt me. I know it. Sir, you need to listen to me. Lock yourself somewhere safe until the officer arrives at your house. Can you hear me? Yes, I'm going to lock myself in my room. And you're positive that you're alone in the house, correct? Yes, I'm alone. Wait a moment. He's moving, he's shaking his head, he's saying no. He can fucking hear us. He's telling me I'm not alone. Sir, are you still there? I heard loud noises. Everything all right? Sir. You see, once I lived a normal life. I was a groundskeeper at a local cemetery. Yeah, I know it wasn't the best job, but hey, it paid my bills. I lived alone in an apartment complex that stood out about a mile from the cemetery in which I worked. I would spend my time writing short stories about my boring life and the days I spent at the cemetery. When, that is, I worked. It was usually during the afternoon into twilight hours. I would never work at night. That place is creepy as it is. Thank you very much. I stayed away, far away from it during the night. The cemetery always had the same routine. I would show up at the cemetery, gather my tools, and go out to pick up trash and tidy up gravestones until it started to get dark. Then I'd go home, do whatever. Nothing really special, I guess you'd say. This routine continued for a year and a half. Ever since the day I got that job, not once did I ever run into anything spooky. You know, like you'd see on a cheesy horror movie. There were never any black cats, werewolves, vampires, ghosts, curses, anything like that. It's just a normal job. Yeah, I never saw any zombies crawling out of the ground to eat my brains. However, there was one day that changed me forever. The day I saw him, or rather, the day I saw the Slenderman. It started off just like any other routine day. I walked to the cemetery, got my tools, headed out to pick up the trash, but something felt really off. Hard to explain. I felt as though I was being watched. I would constantly look around, nervously, only to find that there was nothing there. The only sounds I heard were birds chirping in the trees and the occasional car that passed by. I spent the entire day on edge, something in the back of my mind telling me that there was something or someone else with me in that freaking cemetery. At the end of my shift, I headed back to put my tools away for the night. Noticed that the birds were gone and there were no cars passing by anymore. Everything was eerily quiet. Everything, no wind, no rustling through the trees, nothing. I was really taken aback by the just scratched my head and shook it off, thinking that I was just seeing things because I was overworked, and I'd been feeling really off that day. I put my tools away and headed home, but I walked a little quicker than usual. Still feeling really nervous, and questions started filling my head. Who was that man? Why did he just stand there? Did he disappear so quickly like that? Did he really, or was just me imagining something standing there? Was he real? Figment of my imagination? All those questioning thoughts. That night I barely slept. It was my thoughts that caused my insomnia, constantly roaming over and over in my mind. The next day at the cemetery I was even more tense. I felt like a leaf fell on my head. I'd scream in terror. Unfortunately for me, the more tense I got, the more distracted I got from my work. Soon enough, my boss, Jeff, came out to talk to me. Jeff was a good guy, and my father went way back, and he was the one who gave me the job as a groundskeeper in the first place. You and I were also good friends, and he knew that I wasn't acting myself that day. "Stephen, what's the matter?" he asked. "You seem a little off. Is something wrong?" I didn't want to sound like a crazy person, but I knew I could never lie to Jeff, so I told him the truth. "Look, Jeff, I saw something yesterday. There was a man in a suit that was just standing in the cemetery. He didn't do anything, but then all of a sudden he just disappeared out of nowhere. It just freaked me out, that's all." Yeah, Jeff looked at me like I was crazy. "Wait, what did you say this man looked like?" I was surprised that he actually somewhat believed my story. He was really tall, with a nice suit on. It was too dark to really see his face. Oh boy, Jeff rubbed his head and sighed. "I don't believe it." I rolled my eyes, thinking that he was talking about my story, but then he continued. "I didn't think the legends were true, but what you've explained to me, Stephen, verifies that maybe Slenderman does exist." What? Look, I'm not the one you should be asking these questions to, Stephen. I only know a little bit about him, but I have a friend, James. He knows everything there is to know about the Slender Man. He took out a piece of paper and a pencil and scribbled something down, handed it to me, and he said, "This is where he lives. I'll give him a call and tell him that you had seen this person or thing that you described, and you're coming to learn more about Slenderman. Any questions you may have, he'll be able to answer them, I promise." I still thought the idea was a little crazy, but I wanted to know exactly what Slenderman was. That night I did as Jeff suggested and paid a visit to his friend James. As I entered his house, I saw he was already seated at a table, with pictures scattered all around. When I walked through the door, James greeted me with a smile. "Ah, Stephen. Jeff told me you'd be coming. Please take a seat." I pulled up a chair to the table and began to observe some of the pictures he had laid out. "Jeff told me that you think you saw the Slender Man and that you want more info on him. Well, you have come to the right place." I nodded and he began to tell me everything he knew. "One thing you should know about Slender Man. He's not human. We don't know what he is exactly, but we know for sure he's not human. People who have seen him describe him just as you saw him, but he is sometimes seen with black tentacles emerging from his back. He is a fearsome creature and kills, most likely for the fun of it. Now let me give you a little backstory on Slenderman. One of the first recorded instances of him was back in the mid-1500s in Germany. A woodcut artist by the name of Hans Frankenberg created a piece that displayed a creature that looks not unlike the Slender Man, as you saw in the cemetery yesterday. He was discovered in Holzberg Castle in 1883. Here's what it looked like. He slid with one of the pictures over to me, one that depicted a knight This one showed several children frolicking on a playground. Really nothing out of the ordinary except for the fact that a man that looked exactly like the one I saw in the cemetery was standing ominously in the background. Looking at that picture caused chills to race down my spine. This is the first recorded photograph of the Slenderman. You can just see him in the background according to the records. Every child in that photograph disappeared shortly after it was taken. They haven't been seen since. What? I was astonished. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. James and passed me a few more modern-looking pictures. Each one seemed like a normal, everyday nature or family photo, but in the background of every single one, the same tall man could be seen looming in the shadows. Look, man, I know. James lifted up a hand as to stop, I thought. That's all you need to know, James concluded. Do you have any questions about Slenderman? I shook my head, still trying to wrap my thoughts around why this thing was looking at me the other day when I saw him. Look, Stephen, the Slenderman is a mysterious force, James told me. Nobody knows exactly why he does the things he does, whether he does it for sport or he is a pawn for some higher evil being. We will never know, or at least not to this day. Coming to this realization, I knew that I had to do something. I decided that the next day I would find the Slenderman and see for myself what kind of monster he actually was. I assumed he was probably still in the vicinity of the cemetery, so I would hopefully find and capture him. I wouldn't try that if I were you, James warned. The Slenderman has powers that you would not believe. It's best to let nature take its course, and whatever you do, don't try to approach him if you sight him, please. I assured James that I would do no such thing and thanked him for the information as I left. However, I was still content on attempting to end the Slenderman's reign of terror once and for all. I worked through the next day like it was any other day, but I kept my guard up the whole time, looking for any signs of Slenderman. There was no sign of him the entire day, but once my shift was over, I put away my tools except for one flashlight. Headed over to where I saw him standing just a couple of days prior. Like that fateful day, everything was eerily quiet, no birds, no cars. Nothing made a sound. I could sense he was nearby. I approached the area where I first saw him and sat on the gravestones, waiting. I knew he would come eventually. After about 20 minutes, I began to give up hope until I heard rustling coming from the woods. It was beginning to get darker, and I got a little nervous. I had never been in that area when it was that dark before. It was almost pitch black now, and I had only the full moon and my flashlight for light. I gathered up some confidence and walked into the woods, my flashlight shining through the darkness. I followed the rustling sounds through the woods, and it began to get louder and louder. It got closer and closer. My heart began to race. Sweat formed on my brow, and my hand shook as I tried to hold the flashlight steady. "Show yourself," I ordered, as loudly as I could. Suddenly, from out of the brush of the woods came a squirrel. I let out a deep sigh of relief as the squirrel just stared at me for a few seconds, then it took off, running away from me. I thought nothing of it. It was a squirrel, for God's sakes. They are usually afraid of their own shadow. I turned around and it felt like I walked into a brick wall. I fell hard to the ground and dropped my flashlight. I couldn't see hardly anything, but I could see the outline of a figure illuminated by the full moon. I stumbled around like a madman, grabbing for the flashlight. I found it and shined it on the figure. I started its legs and moved the flashlight up its body. When I hit its torso, I saw that it was wearing a suit and tie. I swear I felt my heart stop. I shined the light at its face and gasped in horror at what I saw. He had no face. It looked like an empty cavernous hole. And no hair, face, no nothing, just a pale white head looking down at me as if it knew I was there. He must have been at least 9 to 10 feet tall. I grappled to my feet and felt 2 hands grasp my neck. I began to panic as my heart raced faster and faster, my breathing getting heavy. The creature pulled me closer and raised me up so my head was level with his. I stared into where his face should have been, and he tilted his head as if he were observing me. I could barely breathe as his grasp grew tighter around my neck. I struggled furiously, and suddenly several black tentacles emerged from the creature's back. I knew this was the end. I was about to become another victim of the Slenderman. He raised one of his tentacles, and I braced myself for the end. However, I heard a faint bark of dogs and a few men calling my name. The creature turned his head towards the noise and then back to me. He took his raised tentacle and wrapped around my forearm. A burning pain shot through my entire arm, and I winced. If that thing's hand hadn't been cutting off my air supply, I would have screamed bloody murder. The pain being like anything I'd ever experienced before. The creature dropped me to the ground and stood above me for just a few seconds. I looked up to it, and I swear he nodded to me before fading into the surrounding darkness. As I was gasping for breath, the men that found me. Jeff was with them. "Stephen, what the hell happened here? We heard you yelling, so we came to find out what was wrong." With what little energy I had left, I would let out a whisper, barely audible. It was the Slenderman. Then everything went black. When I awoke, I found myself in a hospital bed, my neck and forearms still in pain. Once I had regained complete consciousness, I looked down at my forearm and saw there was a black mark with the Slenderman had wrapped his tentacle around me. I stared at it for a few minutes, trying to contemplate why it had spared my life, and left me with just a black mark. Before I had a chance to think anymore, Jeff and James came into the room, Jeff carrying my laptop. "How are you feeling, Stephen?" Jeff asked me. "Still in a little bit of pain," I replied. "The doctors say I should be out in a couple days, maybe even tomorrow." "I warned you not to approach him." James shook his head. "I figured he would be a little upset. I know, I really wish I had listened to you. I'm sorry." He put his hand on my shoulder in comfort. "It's alright, boy. I know how you feel. You just wanted to get up close and personal with the view of the Slenderman. I mean, who wouldn't? I'm just surprised he let you live." Believe me, I was just as surprised. Had it not been for you all coming and calling my name, I probably would have not gotten so lucky. Soon after that, Jeff handed me my laptop. "Why did you bring this?" I asked. "Because you need to tell your story," he replied. "The story about how you met and survived the Slenderman. I'm sure a lot of people are going to want to hear it." "But who's to say anyone will believe it?" I asked skeptically. James smiled and put his hand on my shoulder. "Stephen, even for every skeptic, remember there's a believer. I'm sure someone out there will believe it. Hell, maybe there's someone who has had an experience just like yours. Now get some rest before you start writing. You need it." The two started to walk away until I called after them. "Hey guys, why do you think he left me with this?" I showed them the black mark on my arm, and James rubbed his chin. "No idea. I've never heard of any reported cases of that happening. Maybe since you were lucky enough to survive, he gave it to you as something to remember him by." He smiled, and the two walked out of the room. I chuckled to myself at the thought, but then I realized that maybe that wasn't so crazy an idea after all. I opened my laptop and began writing this story, the story of my experience with Slenderman. If I've learned anything from that ordeal, it's that we may never know who or what the Slenderman is exactly, and where he's going to show up next, but I give this warning to you, dear reader. Beware the Slenderman. United States Navy. This is an order. Please read carefully. Scuttle this vessel immediately. Do not finish this letter. Get off the Mistral. At once, send her down. Consider this a quarantine scenario. All hands are likely dead. God help you if they're not. We are 8 days out of Kirkwall, tracking an intermittent and scrambled distress call from what appeared to be an Icelandic fishing vessel. The man Zodotir, deep into the no-fishing zone of the North Sea, we found this vessel, or rather we find a mile-wide streak of oil and fragments, the largest of them still burning. The night before, the enlisted men on the watch had reported seeing a flash of light on the horizon. The Magnusodorit crew was nowhere to be found except for one lone fisherman, unburned and floating at the far end of the debris field. He had been shot in the forehead with a small caliber revolver. When we fished his pale blue corpse from the frigid water, he was still clutching a fishing knife in one clamped hand. What we were able to piece together from the fragmented and confounding evidence was that, for reasons unknown, the crew had been in conflict, resulting in the murder of at least one sailor, and the eventual sabotage and destruction of the entire ship. Visibility was only a few 100 feet as we spent the next day drifting silently among the debris in hopes of finding a single survivor. The crew was already visibly shaken by the discovery, the grim dread of the fog and lone smoldering pieces of the wreckage that collided with our hull unsettled even the most seasoned of us. We'd expected an easy cruise and the simple retrieval of a dozen thankful Icelandic fishermen. What we got at first was a silent and oil-slick coated sea, a single corpse, and more than a few nagging questions. The Mistral had just been serviced after an extended tour with the Atlantic Fleet and Bahrain. Before her transfer to the North Sea, she was in good running order. I can only assume that the initial mechanical failure was an act of sabotage, or some other external force. It happened the first night when our final sweep had been completed and we returned to the site of the vessel's first transmission. There was nothing initially remarkable about the spot, a cold, lonely set of coordinates and nothing else really. I was in my cabin just settling down when the call sounded from the captain, offering little information, just a stern order to meet him on deck. Dressing quickly, I emerged from the cabin and into a cloud of palpable unease and fear. The enlisted men and the junior officers were coursing through the ship towards the deck like panicked rats. No one made eye contact or spoke. There was none of the usual gallows humor or camaraderie that bubbles in a situation of limited information, just a grim inertia that pulled us out into the Arctic night. On deck, the night was unnaturally clear and cold, and the bright of the stars burned in the frosty air. Around us in every direction, just a few 100 yards away, the fog and clouds whirled in as if it held at bay by our presence. The captain was at the railing, leaning over, along with the men on watch. I approached him suddenly, desperate and panicked to know what the hell was going on when I saw it. The light flooding up from beneath us. The sea was flat, like the surface of a mirror. The water was black, reflecting the pale pinpricks of the stars. But beneath the surface, something glowed with a cold light. Pulsating shapes of violet green and deep cobalt blue shone from beneath. They flowed and merged and simmered silently deep below the glassy sea. We stared, 24 men and women, struck dumb and horrified by the night. There was a sense of scale that emerged from the fluid movement of the lights. They seemed to be many fathoms beneath us, which would make them terribly large and impossibly almost simultaneous events. First, the light seemed to contract, each mote freezing in place and collapsing like the iris of an eye in a bright sunlight. Secondly, there was a tremor in the air that first raised the hair on the back of my neck as the ghostly lights winked out of existence. It rose in intensity until I thought my eyeballs might shake their way out of my head. Through the fog of sudden pain I heard a noise rising above Arctic wind, a humming vibration from the minstrel herself that matched the electric shuddering in my skull. It was as if every light bulb aboard the minstrel was suddenly flushed with power, flaring bright and buzzing noisily in their housings, and when the wine had reached a feverish pitch, they began to pop and shatter among a shatter of sparks. From start to finish, it lasted less than 2 seconds, and we were left floating silently in the dark waters, beneath the starry sky on a dead and crippled boat. The damage was visible without an obvious cause. In total, nothing aboard the Mistral worked. Each carefully crafted system of multiple redundancies had crumbled, every light shattered, and even replacement bulbs and the small flashlights were all carried. We all carried out fuses and useless filaments. Satellite phones, short-wave radios, all means of communication were useless bricks of plastic and wire. Every battery dead. Every stereo system was silent. We were adrift without a sail or an engine, isolated from world by 100 miles of black and silent, freezing sea. The crew moved through the ship that first night like moles, fumbling through the dark corridors with only a few pale green chemical lights to check each system. They relayed each disheartening message like a fire brigade through the darkness to where the captain and I stood on deck trying to make sense of this senseless scenario. At last, when nothing else could be done, I fumbled my way back to my cabin and tried to fall asleep. The darkness feeling like an oppressive, many-fingered hand slowly gripping my chest. The next morning I again took stock out of our situation, hoping for some fragment of hope. We had passed by in the night. The damage was complete, total. We would have to find a way to send a distress call and hope that we had not drifted too far from our last known coordinates. The men may not have known the full details, but it was clear from their haunted visages that they knew how dire the situation was. The first dead was that afternoon. The sounds of screaming brought me above deck and into a thick, heavy fog. High in the gloom I could see bright, burning specks of light descending slow. My stomach churned. There was 2 signal flares drifting uselessly through the haze. Some damn bull had fired the signal flares. I burned with an unfamiliar and foreign rage and rushed through the fog to the foredeck with hatred in my blood and my fists clamped tight. The scene that emerged from the fog broke me from my stupor. The enlisted man, a flare gun still in his hand, lay broken in a pool of blood. The captain stood over him, clutching the railing, driving the heel of his boot repeatedly into the broken mess of the boy's skull. I realized then that the screaming I heard, the high, keen wailing, was coming from the captain. His face rictus of animal rage. Around them was a small crowd, standing motionless and silent, watching like sentinels. The captain turned to see me and dropped into a crouch, his fingers wrapped around the flare gun, and he raised to my eyes. We stared for a long moment at each other, our eyes locked as he panted heavily, his face slightly splattered with blood. The only sound was the wet, gurgling exhale of the enlisted man's death rattle, a bubble of blood forming on his ruined face. I had served with this man for nearly a decade. This was not the man I knew. was a splash when he hit the water. It was swallowed by the fog. I stood for what seemed like an eternity, slowly dawning on me that I was completely alone. The silent audience had melted away below deck, no doubt taking the grim tale with them. I feared for morale and absurd concern, I realize now, but could not move from the spot as if sheer force of will could, cause the sea to regurgitate this man, this friend. The first gunshot broke me from my reverie. In the emergency lockers, I found that a handful of flare guns remained, and I stuffed one into each pocket and entered the dim passageway to below deck. Over the hollow retort of gunshots, other muffled sounds began to emerge. The choking sobs, the screams of pain and anger, all bring the faint impression of the copper smell of blood. The dark was oppressive and thick as my heart rose in my chest. The pale, fading light of the chemical glow sticks that hung at a regular interval illuminated the bare corridor. I moved slowly towards my cabin. It had been sacked, and my service pistol was missing. The next two cabins held the corpses of the junior officers, their broken forms still in their bunks, skulls open like blooming flowers under the point-blank shot. I felt a distinct and irrational desire to run on deck and leap overboard, to swim away from the boat into the dark, foreboding sea. Gripping a flare gun, held it out ahead of me, less like a weapon and more like a talisman, and began to pace slowly down the corridor to the enlisted bunks. The door was wide open, and the smell of blood and fear and shit was nauseating as my eyes slowly adjusted to the dim. I saw a field of bodies torn, shredded, and shattered by bullets and makeshift clubs. A few of the men still moved, twitching slightly twitching. I watched in frozen terror as one man, his face a mask of blood and rage, turned up his head to regard me, and with a weak cry of rage began to drag himself with his arms, trailing a broken and shattered leg, towards me. From the shadows another form pounced on him, a boot digging into the wounded man's back with a wet cracking sound. I recognized the attacker's face in the green chemical dim, a quiet and bookish man, like the captain. This was not the man I knew. This was a beast that wore his skin. He reached down and grabbed the wounded man's jaw, thumbs slipping into his mouth. The wounded man growled a feral, mindless sound and tried to bite down, but his attacker gripped tight and ripped. The jaw came off with the sound of tearing tendons and ululating shrieks that vanished into the air. I was no longer breathing, holding silently at the entrance, but the attacker snapped its head up to see me, nostrils flaring. The jawbone hit the floor with a meaty sound, and he lunged towards me with a silent animal grace. I fired the flare gun and hit him square in the chest. His shirt caught fire, and all air escaped his lungs with a sudden, forceful exhale, but impossibly he continued towards me. As I passed through the portal and slammed the door, the fire had climbed into his hair, and he was squealing now, his clawed hands still outstretched towards me. I felt him impact against the door and saw the nightmare, visage wreathed in fire through the small portal, lips already burnt away to reveal 2 rows of perfectly sharp teeth. He wailed and began to smash his burning form against the door, once, twice, 3 times, and silence. I raised my eyes to the portal and saw only the faint image of the burning shape as it dissipated into the darkness. All conscious thought evaporated, and I fled from that carnal house. I have barricaded all entrances to below deck now, and have doomed myself to a slow death at the hands of the enveloping cold. I can still hear the living ones down there screaming and banging on the doors. They are not men that I knew. console myself with this thought as I leave them in the dark to starve or murder each other. If you have read this far and have not fled these waters, or God forbid, are still aboard the Mistral, then I beg you again, leave now. While you can, do not look below deck. There are none of us left to save, and certainly none worth saving. It's cold now, and the fading day surrendering the way in gray light to the dark. There are no stars this night, nothing but the heavy blanket and thick fog of the night. If I could get below, I would find some way of destroying the Mistral, like the brave men of the men who stood her. But it's too late. The most I can make of my last moments is all feeling flees my extremities, and writing becomes almost impossible. Is a warning. Please send us into the deep and tell no one you found us, and never return no matter what you do. There are things, primal desires older than man, and forces beyond the grasps of our simple minds. They dwell here, beneath the frozen sea. Of inheritance. I take the stairs two by two, coming home from Granny's funeral. A witch, they'd called her the superstitious fools, so relieved at her passing they'd never thought to investigate its odd suddenness. Not that they would have found anything. The work done in a few moments, a thick bellow as she slept, her gnarled hands grasping at my wrist, ancient lungs struggling to capture the barest breath, was hardly an effort, and left no evidence of foul play. I reached the landing, intent upon my prize, the treasure she kept locked in her room, the old metal key that in life never left the cord around her neck and now held in my hand. I am no fool. I had waited until I was sure, as overlooked for mischief, before attempting to secure the wealth that now rightfully, if treacherously, mine. I pause, wary, at the door to Granny's room, the door I am sure I'd closed before leaving for the churchyard, stands cracked open. Thieves, this must would be. Then aware of the rumors of the great fortune that my grandmother had in seeking my inheritance as their own, they'll have no chance. Without the key, and I'll not be handing that over. I worked for it. I draw the small pistol from the pocket and edged silently down the hall. Bursting through the door, ready to do violence, I stopped. Suddenly, unsure of what to do, a figure sits in Granny's old rocker. Its back is to me. But from where I stand, I can see a twisted hand clutching the armchair. Heard labored breathing crackling from its chest. A laugh dry as snapping twigs or rattling bones issues from a mouth of worn leather. The chair slowly begins to turn. Abruptly I wake, sprawled in my bed, tangled amidst the sheets. The memory of the nightmare that must have woken me has already faded from my brain. Granny calls from the next room, the sound of her voice causing an unbidden wave of disgust to issue from deep within my chest. Reflexively, my hands tighten upon my pillow, and reaching a decision I've long been considering. I rise from my bed, my gaze fixed upon the door. A smile threatens to tug at the corners of my lips, and the thought of wealth will soon be mine, playing across the surface of my thoughts. Yet still, as I creep from the room, I am plagued by the most nagging feeling that I have done this before. apologetic smile, and she rolled her eyes before turning back to the Clint Eastwood look-alike, currently chatting her up. Joe swallowed hard. Would you shut the fuck up, Frank? First, you can't have another one of those because you got us kicked out of the bar last time. Honestly, man, I have no idea how you've survived this long the way you act. That chick's boyfriend is gonna be pissed after what you pulled, and I'm not totally sure they didn't follow us here. Frank's drunken ambulance turned sullen in an instant as he sulkily leaned across the bar, his scowl fixed on the bowl of peanuts resting between them. Whatever, Joey, let him come. Flower power back. There's wants to make it an issue of it. He's more than welcome to try. I'll beat his head his own asshole. Prick is a problem with me. He should have learned how to keep that one to his own woman. God damn, you're drunk. Well, it wasn't that drink. Joe sighed. He's been out with Frank enough to know there's no reasoning at him when he gets like this. Yeah, I'm sure you would, Frank. Anyway, we should think about getting back to the house. You know how pissed Boris gets when we miss curfew. It's getting late. If we don't get back soon, we're gonna be toast. Joe, you little bitch. Fuck Boris. You know that asshat likes to think he's in control of us. What's he care if we are in 2-3? No difference. I'm getting another drink before we go. Joe reached over and pulled on Frank's shoulder. Damn it, Frankie, you don't need another drink. You're shit-faced as it is. You're drunk enough. Any more in and you'll likely start something that'll have us both against the whole goddamn bar, and I don't care how tough you think you are right now. If that happens, we're going to most likely get the shit kicked out of us. Possibly put us in the hospital or worse. Then we'll be lucky if we can crawl back to Boris's place, and even luckier if he lets us inside. Do you want to sleep on the goddamn cold? A cold metallic sheen slid over Frank's eyes, and his mouth drew into a hard line as he reached up and took hold of Joe's wrist in a crushing grip. Get your fucking hands off me, Joey. Joe let go of Frank's coat and gulped. Yeah, sure, Frank, whatever you say, man. A single bead of sweat rolled down Joe's forehead as Frank increased the pressure of his hold tight enough to leave bruises. Abruptly, Frank smiled and released Joe's wrist. See there? That wasn't so hard, was it? Now don't get your panties all up in a bunch, asshole. One more drink and we'll head back to the house so old Mother Boris won't be concerned, okay? Joe slumped unhappily in his stool, rubbing his sore wrists. Yeah, okay, one last drink, man. Just try to control yourself, would you? For me? Only for you, Joey, Frank laughed. Now then, let's see, what do I want? Better make it something special. Since you're rushing me over here, and what is that smell? Joe noticed it too, the scent of fresh bloomed lilacs ever so subtly laced with something muskier. The two men turned to look at the same time and were simultaneously struck. The woman that had stood in the entryway of the bar was a vision of beauty. Large almond eyes, colored of dark chocolate, were set above lips as plump as ripened cherries. A careless stumble of jet black curls framed the incredibly pale skin of her face. Hair so thick, it seemed to beg a man to turn it into his palms and run it through his fingers. She was dressed in a modest black dress that nevertheless served as an accurate measure of her curves. She was dressed so much more exponentially Shit. Joe sighed. Frank, really? Every other guy in here just thought the same thing, man. I mean, look at her. No way is she dumb enough to go anywhere with you. Let's just get out of here. That chick is trouble. I can feel it. There's something about her that isn't right, something that's off. Frank grinned. Yeah, there's something off. See that pale skin, profound lack of vitamin D. Fortunately for her, I have the cure. Watch and learn. Frank! Look, if she shoots me down, we go home, okay? I won't even try to get another drink. Fine, I'm gonna hold you to that. I'll see you back here in 2 minutes, then we're gone. Frank flashed a tooth-bearing grin and laughed before sauntering towards the woman who already had 3 other men clustered around her. Joe leaned against the back of the bar stool, ready to observe the comedy that was surely about to unfold. He could see her watching Frank out of the corner of her eye as he approached, only turning to give him her full attention when he'd gotten close enough to throw her one of his patented pickup lines. Here it comes, Joe thought. The part where she throws her head back and laughs her ass off. Maybe if he uses one of his extra special lines, those other guys will do me a favor and lay him out. Then I'll just have to get the bouncer to help me cart the shithead to a cab. You could see Frank say something, then to Joe's amazement, the woman's mouth curled into a wicked grin. Her eyes burning with lust-filled desire, she hungrily stared at Frank. She raised a single finger to the lips of the man standing next to her, who had been obliviously trying to carry on a conversation before grabbing Frank by the hand and pulling him behind her towards the restrooms at the back of the bar. Frank had time to flash Joe an excited thumbs up across the room before the door slammed shut behind him. Joe's mouth dropped open in shock. Holy shit, he muttered to himself. Maybe I should see about getting another drink after all. Instead, he simply sat at the bar waiting for Frank to finish whatever the hell he was doing back there. 5 minutes passed, then 10, then 15. After 20 minutes, Joe began to get worried. At 30, he got up and started to make his way back to the restroom. Frank would be pissed if Joe was interrupting, but damn it, they had already missed curfew. He shoved through the bathroom door and stopped, unable to believe what he saw. Frank stood slumped against the back wall of the restroom, his arms held on either side by men built like professional linebackers and looking like he'd been beaten to hell. The sultry woman standing in front of him was wielding a pair of pliers. As Joe watched, she reached into Frank's mouth with the tool and, accompanied by a sickening series of crack pops, ripped one of his teeth out to join the small pile already on the tilted tile floor beside her. Frank moaned softly as bright red blood steadily pulsed out of his mouth and down his chin and chest. Joe stepped farther into the room. Hey, what the fuck are you doing to him? If he could get one of those guys off Frank, they might just stand a chance getting the hell out of there. He briefly registered a movement to his rear and realized another assailant must have been hidden behind the door. Before he could turn, he felt the sharp stamp of a needle, then something like liquid fire injected into his neck. Joe fell to the floor, screaming and writhing in pain as the poison did its work, before finally passing into blessed unconsciousness. Ice-cold water poured over his head, waking him up, sputtering. Joe coughed and blinked his eyes, a dull burning still echoing his neck, where he'd been injected earlier. His mouth was so dry it felt like sandpaper. He looked around. He was sitting tied to a chair in the middle of a nondescript warehouse, the pale light of dawn shining through the dirt-encrusted windows high above. To his right he saw Frank, secured to another chair in a similar fashion, so battered and bruised that if Joe did not know better, he would have thought the man was dead. The woman stood in front of him, holding a bucket, flanked on either side by a pair of her black-clad goons. She changed out of her dress from the bar into the same military-style clothing the men wore. She smiled at Frank, moaned through his mouthful of missing teeth, his head lolling in a circle. So sorry to wake you, boy, she purred, her voice velvet over steel. But I wanted to make sure you were conscious for the big finish. obvious question. My name is Morgana Fontaine. What is happening is I am avenging the death of my darling sister and countless other victims of your horrific appetites. She turned and walked into the sliding cargo door on the side of the warehouse. And what I am doing, she said, heaving at the chain to raise the doors, ridding the world of 2 more forsaken parasites. Facing east, the light of the morning sun streamed through the doorway directly under the 2 prisoners strapped in their chairs. As the first rays touched them, the men's skin began to blacken and steam before spontaneously bursting into flames. Now fully alight, Joe and Frank's screams echoed through the empty warehouse. Pockets of fat under the skin bubbling and popping, 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 bubbling, 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 popping, popping. Their eyes melting into their sockets, Morgana and her companion stood watching the conflagration and unblinking until all that was left of the creatures were 2 small piles of dust and a pair of greasy black stains. Approaching them remains, Morgana noisily hopped and spat a healthy wad of phlegm into the ash. For my sister,